Okay, so the Star Wars Disney canon and the old canon, the EU, have things in them that are very terrible. So I decided it would be fun to mix the best of both and add some of my own ideas to make the best Star Wars canon possible. So starting at Dawn of the Jedi, I'd make a Dawn of the Jedi trilogy, and I'd have it start in the Peridia Galaxy. The Night Sisters would have to be involved since the Ahsoka show makes it clear that the Night Sisters also came from there. Then I'd leave the next few millennia to the imagination of the fans, all the way up to the Old Republic era. I'd basically make one or two Old Republic trilogies, basically just adaptations of what we already have in the EU, because that's actually the best part of the EU, one of the few great parts of it. And then I deletes the Acolyte, deletes anything to do with Disney's The High Republic, and move just before the Phantom Menace and make a show about Qui-Gon, Dooku, and Obi-Wan. It would start with Dooku training Qui-Gon to Qui-Gon training Obi-Wan. And I don't know what I called it. I think this title would be something like Star Wars The Legacy of Masters or something, but that's not really important. This is just the concepts. And then I'd let the Phantom Menace happen, and between that and Attack of the Clones, by the way, the voice actor for Obi-Wan Kenobi in Clone Wars actually said he wanted this to make an animated show about Anakin and Obi-Wan between these two films, and I think we could take ideas from the Jedi Quest books as well as use totally new ideas. We could create something really cool. Then moving on to the animated Clone Wars show, I'd leave that be. I'd only complete it, in a sense, by making a show called Dark Disciple based off the Dark Disciple arc. And then I'd make a short animated movie called Son of Dathomir based off that arc. I'm not sure if there are any other arcs that I really want finished in Clone Wars, that is. I mean, since it's almost finished, I'd also do the Crystal Crisis one. I'm not sure why they never finished that. It would have been that easy. Um, okay, and then obviously I'm not hurting Revenge of the Sith or anything like that. So Bad Batch. This one, on one hand, I think the show's okay. On the other hand, I think they really didn't let it grow to its full potential. So I'd delete the Bad Batch and make a show called Clone Rebellion. The Bad Batch characters would be in it, but it would be bigger, more comprehensive, and everyone would die except for Rex, Wolf, and Gregor because they're in Rebels, and then I'd let Cody live, and I'll explain why in a minute. Okay, I'd also keep Maul, Shadow Lord, Rebels, and and Rogue One. They all happen in this roughly the same time period, and if I didn't just say it, I'd also keep Solo. But we're getting rid of the Kenobi show. It's just so bad. They were planning on making a Kenobi trilogy that happened after Solo, but that obviously didn't happen. The script for it's leaked, and the writer of the script actually came out and on an interview explained a lot of it. There are things I like about the script and things I don't, so I'd make some changes, but I'd keep it mostly intact. Like there's this one part where Obi-Wan goes to Vader's castle. No, I'm not sure if he goes to Vader's castle in Mustafar, but he has a vision of him being on Mustafar and dueling a dark side Luke Skywalker, which I think would be really cool. And the reason I'm keeping Cody alive in this animated Clone Rebellion show is because he was supposed to be in the script, and I think that would be really cool. And all that happens before Andor, Rogue One, and Rebels. Then I'm not changing anything about the original trilogy. But another reason I'm deleting Bad Batch is because in Bad Batch, Tapaka City on Kamino is destroyed, but we need cloning facilities on Kamino for what I want to do with, guess what? Starkiller. I'd adapt the first two Force Unleashed games each into movies, probably animated, and then we'd take what we could of the third Force Unleashed game that never actually got made, and we'd make that into a third movie for a Starkiller trilogy. And I'd also keep Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. Then moving on to after the original trilogy, I'm keeping pretty much nothing of the EU that's set after the Star Wars original trilogy. Like, Dark Empire's terrible, Heir to the Empire is overrated. I like the author Timothy Zahn, I think he's a good person, and I like how he affirms that the EU was never actually canon. And I'd be willing to take some of his ideas, but I really hate the, how do you say it, Aes Salamari, whatever those creatures are, that can deflect the Force, because the Force is supposed to be behind all living things, and so it goes against the rules of the Star Wars galaxy to have creatures like the Aes Salamari and the Yuuzhan Vong, who can repel the Force. I'm not okay with that. So we'd keep the Mandoverse as it was going up to the end of Season 2. Then I'd change the Book of Boba Fett, make Boba Fett a little more brutal, not because I like bad guys, but it's more realistic for his character. I wouldn't have Din Djarin or Grogu come back in it. Then I'd make Mando 3 as it was originally supposed to be. We'd make Rangers of the New Republic. And Grogu would never come back to Mando. I instead would make a New Jedi Order show where we could take some ideas from Legends. Like, I'd be okay with, like, Jacen and Jaina solo existing. I'm not really okay with Mara Jade, but Jacen and Jaina could totally be in there. And Grogu would be the first pupil of this New Jedi Order series we'd have. And then I'd let Ahsoka pretty much remain the same, that show. I mean, I'm not happy with how they handled Sabine, but I don't think it needs a complete redo. I pretty much likes that show. Skeleton Crew would stay, although I wouldn't do much with the characters. I'd just let the story stay. I'd delete the sequels in Star Wars Resistance. And basically after the Mandoverse era, I'm not adding much. Because there kind of needs to be a definitive end to a saga like this. And if it just goes on and on and on thousands of years to tell the Legacy comics where Maul wasn't in those, but Talon was. Anyway, we couldn't do that because we have Darth Talon in the Disney canon now in the Maul Shadow Lord part, which I kept. So guys, that's my proposed Star Wars timeline. Did you like it, or did you not like it, or were you somewhere in between? Please let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing.